All right, so today we're going to be tackling event management.
Uh-huh.
And we're coming at it from the angle of you getting ready for a job interview.
Yeah.
And so we found this awesome guide to common event manager interview questions.
Oh, cool.
And we're going to kind of go through it and give you all the insider tips and tricks
Nice.
so that you can knock it out of the park when you're in there.
Right.
So I think one of the first things that this guide talks about is experience and how important it is.
Yeah, definitely. I mean,
You can't really be an event manager without some experience.
for sure, you kind of need something to show them that you know what you're doing.
Right. And I think it's interesting how they talk about not just listing everything you've ever done, but actually showcasing the right experience.
Right. Yeah, it's not just about quantity, it's about quality.
Totally. And
Yeah.
so what do you think is the real secret sauce there?
Well, I think it's all about connecting the dots for the hiring manager. Like
Yeah.
showing them how your past experience translates into the skills they need for this specific role.
So like if they're hiring for a corporate event manager,
Right.
you wouldn't necessarily lead with planning your best friend's wedding.
Yeah, exactly. Like, think about the skills that are really important for that corporate event manager.
Okay.
Like budgeting and vendor management and logistics and, all that stuff.
Right.
And then use your examples to show how you've already mastered those skills.
Okay, so like instead of just saying like, "Oh, I planned a wedding,"
Right.
you'd be like, "I managed a budget of, whatever, $50,000."
Yeah,
Coordinated with 10 different vendors and created a timeline.
exactly. And like use numbers and results.
Yeah. Okay.
Did you negotiate a really good deal with a caterer?
Right.
Like quantify it,
Okay.
make it concrete.
That makes total sense.
Yeah.
Okay, so let's talk about stress because I think anyone who's ever planned an event knows that it can be a little stressful.
Oh, yeah, for sure.
There are a lot of moving parts, a lot of deadlines.
Mhm.
And so how do you stay cool when it feels like everything's about to explode?
Well, the guide talks about having this like toolbox of stress management techniques.
Right.
And they mentioned deep breathing and mindfulness, which are great.
Yeah.
But I think it goes beyond that too.
Okay.
It's about having good organizational systems in place. Like,
Right.
are you a list person? Do you use project management apps? Like,
Yeah.
find what works for you
Right.
and build those systems before you're in the heat of the moment.
Yeah, it's like having a fire drill for your brain.
Right, exactly.
So you're ready when that alarm goes off.
Yeah.
So let's say you're managing this huge corporate event for 500 people.
Okay.
How do you even begin to like wrap your head around something that massive?
Well, that's where that breaking down tasks into smaller chunks thing comes in handy.
Okay.
It's like building a house. You wouldn't try to build the whole thing at once, right? You
Right.
start with the foundation,
Hmm.
then the framing, then the walls.
Okay. I'm starting to see how that applies to event management. So instead of being overwhelmed by this giant event, you're tackling it one piece at a time.
Yeah, exactly.
Secure the venue, finalize the catering design, the seating chart.
Yep. And each of those tasks can be broken down even further.
Okay.
Like for the seating chart, you could start by gathering the guest list, then assigning tables,
Right.
then creating place cards. Like each little step
Yeah.
becomes a manageable thing you can check off your list.
It's like, how do you eat an elephant
Yeah.
one bite at a time?
Exactly.
Okay, now let's talk about money.
Okay.
Because, events don't plan themselves.
For sure not.
And they certainly don't pay for themselves.
Nope.
So the guide goes into detail about budgeting
Uh-huh.
and stresses this importance of like meticulous research.
Yes.
So what kind of research are we talking about here?
Well, it's about understanding your costs
Hmm.
from all angles.
Okay.
Before you even talk to vendors,
Right.
you need to research industry standards,
Okay.
compare pricing for different services, and think about those potential hidden costs.
Ooh, like what?
Permits insurance.
Oh.
Those little things that can really add up.
Okay, so you're basically like a detective
Right.
for event expenses.
Exactly.
They're looking for all the clues.
Yeah.
And then once you have a handle on all those costs,
Then you can start negotiating.
okay.
And the guide actually has this really cool anecdote about an event manager who went head-to-head with a catering company.
Oh, yeah, I remember that one.
Yeah, and they got a much better deal.
Without sacrificing quality.
Right, exactly.
So it's not just about like, haggling for the lowest price.
No, it's about finding a solution that works for both sides.
It's like a win-win.
Yeah, win-win.
Okay, so you've got your vendors lined up.
Yeah.
Your budget is on track.
Great.
And then, bam, two of your key vendors have a major clash.
Oh, no.
The florist's romantic pastel aesthetic totally clashes with the decorator's sleek modern vibe.
Oof, that's a tough one.
What do you do when you're caught in the middle of a vendor showdown?
Well, I think diplomacy is key in that situation.
Okay.
Instead of like jumping in with solutions, Just start by listening to each vendor.
Okay.
Acknowledge their concerns, try to understand where they're coming from.
So it's like you're their therapist?
A little bit, yeah.
Oh, good.
Sometimes people just need to feel heard.
Okay, so that's step one. What happens next?
Well, once you understand both sides, you can start brainstorming solutions.
Okay.
And you're not just looking for a compromise, you're trying to find something that aligns with the overall vision
Right.
for the event.
Of the event, yeah.
Maybe you incorporate both styles or help one vendor adjust their approach a bit.
It sounds like a delicate balancing act.
Oh, it definitely is.
Mhm.
You're managing personalities and creative visions.
Right.
And strong opinions sometimes.
So communication is key.
Absolutely. You got to be clear, concise, and respectful.
Yeah. You're basically a diplomat, a therapist, and a project manager.
Yeah. Welcome to event management.
Rolled into one.
That's it. Now, speaking of complex landscapes.
Yeah. Let's talk about technology.
Okay.
Because the guide mentions all this event management software,
Oh, yeah?
like Cven and Eventbrite.
Uh-huh.
What are those all about?
Well, think of them as your digital command center for event planning.
Okay.
They can handle online registration ticketing, creating websites,
Right.
sending emails, even managing budgets and tracking RSVPs.
So basically, if you're not tech savvy,
Right.
you're going to have a tough time.
Well, you don't have to be a coding expert,
Okay.
but you do need to be adaptable and willing to learn new tools.
Okay.
And luckily, these platforms are usually pretty user-friendly,
Okay, good.
and there are tons of resources online to help you.
So no computer science degree needed.
Not necessarily.
Okay, good.
Yeah.
Now, speaking of the evolving world of events, let's talk about online events.
Oh, yeah. Right?
Because the guide makes it clear that virtual events are here to stay.
For sure. Especially after the pandemic.
Right.
Everyone got really used to them.
So what are some of the key differences between managing a physical event, right?
Versus a virtual one?
Well, I mean, the fundamentals are the same, budgeting, planning, marketing.
Okay.
But the execution is totally different.
Right.
Instead of worrying about the venue and the catering,
Right.
you're thinking about the online platform engagement strategies,
Right.
making sure the experience is seamless for people all over the world.
So you're creating this digital world
Yeah,
that needs to be just as engaging and memorable as a physical space.
exactly. And that requires some creative thinking,
Yeah.
How do you create a sense of community when everyone's behind a screen?
Right.
How do you prevent people from getting distracted?
Those are some seriously good questions, and I'm betting our listeners are eager to hear the answers.
Yeah.
We're going to have to make them wait just a little bit longer,
Okay.
because that's all the time we have for part 1 of our deep dive into event management.
All right.
But we'll be back soon with part 2,
Yes, we will.
where we'll tackle those virtual event challenges
Okay.
head on.
Plus, we'll explore even more common interview questions and how to craft those killer responses.
Can't wait.
Stay tuned.
Yeah.
Welcome back to the deep dive. We are picking up right where we left off, talking all about event management.
Yeah, getting you ready for that interview.
Exactly. Last time we talked about showcasing your experience. Stress management,
All right.
budgeting. We even got into vendor disagreements.
Oh, yeah, those can be tricky.
But today we're going to dive even deeper into this guide
Okay, sounds good.
and see what other golden nuggets we can find.
All right.
So remember that example we were talking about before?
Which one?
The one where the event manager was juggling this massive 500-person corporate event?
Oh, yeah, I remember that.
Like they were spinning plates while riding a unicycle.
So much going on.
Well, the guide goes on to explain how they handled all that pressure.
Okay, how'd they do it?
It wasn't just about breaking down tasks.
Okay.
It was about delegation.
Right, you can't do it all yourself.
Exactly. They knew they couldn't do everything themselves.
So they built a strong team
Smart.
and empowered each person to take ownership of their specific area.
So it's about leadership, too.
Yeah, you need to be able to identify people's strengths,
Right.
delegate effectively,
Yeah.
provide clear instructions and support.
Like you're the conductor of an orchestra,
I love that.
bringing all those different instruments together.
So how does that actually play out?
Okay, so let's say you're in charge of catering for that event.
Okay.
You wouldn't be running around serving every single guest. You'd have a team of servers,
Right.
each responsible for a specific section.
Okay.
You'd give them clear instructions on how to present the food,
Uh-huh.
handle special requests,
Yep.
make sure everything runs smoothly.
You'd be there to oversee everything.
Right.
Step in if there are any issues.
Yeah.
Make sure the whole operation is running like a well-oiled machine.
Exactly. And that brings us back to those stress management techniques.
Ooh, right.
Because when you have a good team,
And everyone knows their role, it takes a lot of pressure off of you.
because even if something unexpected happens, If those server calls in sick, a dish gets dropped.
Right.
You have a team that's capable of handling it.
Exactly.
Speaking of handling the unexpected,
Okay.
let's talk about budgeting.
Oh?
Because remember how we were talking about researching costs,
Yeah.
negotiating with vendors?
Uh,
Even with the best planning, things don't always go according to plan.
oh, no. Tell me about it.
Unexpected costs can pop up.
Yeah.
Vendors might increase their prices.
Right.
Your client might suddenly decide they need to add 100 more desks.
Oh, my gosh. The budget.
Talk about a nightmare.
Yeah.
So how do you stay on track financially?
Okay, so the guide really emphasizes having a contingency plan
Okay.
built into your budget.
So like a financial cushion?
Exactly,
Oh.
for those just-in-case moments.
Okay, so you're basically padding your budget with a little extra wiggle room.
Right. And the amount of padding will depend on the event.
Right.
Like if it's outdoors, you might need extra for a tent if it rains.
Right, or if your client is known for last-minute changes.
Uh-huh. You might need a little extra for those add-ons.
Okay, so it's not just about having extra money set aside.
Right.
It's about being flexible with your budget.
Exactly.
Yeah.
You might need to cut costs in one area
Right.
to accommodate unexpected expenses in another.
So maybe you swap out the fancy centerpieces for
Right.
something simpler.
Yeah, or negotiate a lower rate with the AV company.
Exactly.
Be resourceful, find solutions.
Without compromising the quality of the event.
That's the goal.
Okay, let's switch gears a bit
Okay.
and talk about diplomacy.
All right.
We already talked about it with vendors,
Yeah.
but it goes way beyond that.
Okay.
Think about all the different personalities you're dealing with.
Oh, yeah. So many.
Demanding clients, stressed out vendors,
Right.
maybe even some unruly guests.
Oh, yeah.
You're basically a walking, talking conflict resolution center.
That's a good way to put it.
So how do you stay zen?
Well, the guides suggest having a plan
Okay.
and practicing de-escalation techniques.
Like what?
Active listening is key.
Okay.
Really hear what the other person is saying.
Even if you don't agree with them.
Yeah, even then,
Okay.
empathy goes a long way too.
Okay.
Let them know you understand their frustration.
Even if you can't fix it right away. So
Right,
you're
right.
validating their feelings.
Exactly.
Even if their complaints seem a little over the top.
Sometimes, yeah. But once you've de-escalated the situation,
Uh,
then you can start brainstorming solutions.
and again, it's all about finding that win-win.
Right. Can you offer a compromise? Can you make things right without breaking the bank?
It's like you're negotiating emotions.
That's a good way to put it. Yeah.
So people skills are just as important
Oh,
as
absolutely.
logistical skills.
You can be the most organized planner in the world,
Uh-huh.
but if you can't handle people,
Right.
you're going to struggle.
Okay, so we've covered stress management, budgeting diplomacy. What other essential skills are we missing?
Well, we can't forget about technology.
Oh, right. Right.
Are those platforms we talked about?
like Sevent and Eventbrite?
Yeah, those ones.
It's like having a digital assistant for your event.
Right. Well, the guide says it's not enough to just know how to use them.
Okay.
You have to stay on top of the latest trends.
Okay.
New tools and features are always coming out.
So you need to be adaptable.
Yeah, and willing to learn new things.
So maybe experimenting with new platforms,
Uh-huh.
attending conferences or webinars.
Right. Or even taking some online courses.
Okay, so I should add tech enthusiast to my resume.
Probably a good idea.
Speaking of resumes and interviews,
Yes.
let's talk about online events.
Oh, yeah, right. Virtual events.
They're not going anywhere.
Nope, here to stay.
So the guide dives into this world of virtual and hybrid events,
Uh-huh.
which have become so popular.
Especially after the pandemic.
Right.
It's not just about posting a webinar link and calling it a day.
Right. You need a whole different approach. So what are some key things to keep in mind?
Well, first, you have to choose the right platform.
Okay. There are a lot of them out there.
Yeah, tons. Each with its own pros and cons.
So do your research.
Uh-huh. Find the one that fits your event and your audience.
Okay. And once you've chosen your platform.
Then you need to think about engagement.
Okay.
How are you going to keep people interested in coming back for more?
So maybe incorporating interactive elements.
Yes, like polls, Q&A sessions.
Breakout room.
Uh-huh. Or even gamification.
It's like you need to be part tech expert,
Right.
part entertainer,
Yeah.
part master of ceremonies.
That's a good way to put it.
And then there are the technical aspects.
Oh, yeah. You need good internet,
Right.
high-quality audio and video,
Uh-huh.
and a backup plan for when things go wrong.
Because they always do.
Always.
This is starting to sound a little overwhelming.
I know, but don't worry. The guide has some tips.
Okay, good.
First, test everything in advance.
Okay.
Don't wait until the day of the event to realize your mic is broken.
Good point, like a tech rehearsal.
Exactly. And it's also a good idea to have tech support on standby.
Okay.
during the event, just in case.
So you can focus on your attendees
Right.
and delivering a good experience.
Exactly.
Okay, so we've talked about delegation, budgeting, diplomacy,
Mm-hmm.
technology, and virtual events.
What else?
There's one more big one:
Okay, what is it?
safety.
Oh, yeah, of course.
No matter what type of event,
Right.
safety should always be the top priority.
Absolutely. We don't want any accidents.
Exactly.
So the guide talks about risk assessments,
Okay.
identifying potential hazards,
Uh-huh.
developing safety plans.
So like having a first aid kit?
Yes. Making sure exits are clear.
Okay.
Having an evacuation plan.
So you're prepared for anything.
You got it.
And it's important to communicate these plans to
Oh, yeah.
everyone involved,
Yes, your team, your vendors.
even attendees.
Sometimes, yeah.
Okay, so we've covered a lot of ground:
We have
experience, stress management, budgeting,
diplomacy.
technology, virtual events, safety. We even dove into virtual and hybrid events.
It's a lot.
But there's still more to uncover.
Oh, really?
In part 3,
Okay.
we're going to tackle those common interview questions.
Oh, yes.
And help you craft some amazing answers.
Awesome.
Plus, we'll explore strategies for measuring success, marketing your events,
Uh-huh.
and handling those inevitable oh no moments.
Can't wait.
Stay tuned. All right, welcome back to the deep dive. We are in the final stretch of our event management journey.
Yeah. Getting you ready to ace that interview.
Exactly. So we've talked about all the essential skills, budgeting, stress management.
Technology, diplomacy.
But now we're going to focus on how to actually nail those interview questions.
Right. Give you the tools to impress those hiring managers.
It's funny. We've talked about how event management is all about logistics and organization,
Uh-huh.
but the interview process seems to be more about storytelling.
Yeah, you're right. It's not just about reciting facts. It's about conveying your passion, your problem-solving skills, your ability to think on your feet.
So how do we strike that balance?
Okay, well, the guide actually provides a really useful framework for answering questions.
Oh, cool.
It's called the STAR method.
STAR.
Yeah, it stands for Situation, Task, Action, Result.
Okay.
So basically, you start by setting the scene.
Okay.
Describe a specific situation or challenge you faced.
So instead of just saying, I'm great at handling difficult clients,
Right.
I'd actually describe a time when I had to deal with a really tough client.
Exactly. Give them a concrete example.
Okay. And then,
Then you outline the task at hand. What were you responsible for? What were your goals?
okay, so like walk them through the steps I took to solve the problem.
Right. And highlight the skills you used, communication, creativity, whatever was relevant.
And then finally, the results.
Yeah. How did your actions impact the situation? Did you save the day? Did you exceed expectations?
So I'm turning a potential interview nightmare
Uh-huh.
into a showcase of my skills.
Exactly. You're showing them what you're capable of.
Okay, I like it. So what are some of the most common questions?
Well, one that almost always comes up is, tell me about a time you had to deal with a crisis during an event.
Oh, yeah, that was a classic.
It's like they're trying to see how you handle pressure.
Right.
So think of a time when something went wrong.
Like a speaker canceled.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Or the equipment malfunctioned.
And I'd use the STAR method to explain how I handled it.
Exactly. Situation, task, action, result.
So I'm basically showing them I can handle anything.
Right. You're cool under pressure. You're a problem solver.
Okay, now what about that question? How do you measure the success of an event?
Ah, that one's a bit trickier.
Yeah, because it's not just about attendance.
Right. An event could be packed, but if nobody had a good time, was it really a success?
So we need to think about the bigger picture.
Exactly. What were the goals of the event?
Like, was it a fundraiser?
Yeah, or a product launch, or a community building event.
So I'd tie those metrics back to the goals.
All right, if it was a fundraiser, talk about how much money you raised.
Okay, and don't forget about the qualitative stuff.
Oh, yeah. Did people feel engaged? Did they make connections? Did they leave with a positive impression?
So it's about the overall impact.
And how you gather that information, surveys, social media feedback.
Okay, so I'm showing them I'm data-driven, but I also care about the experience.
Exactly. You're well-rounded.
Now, let's be real. Everyone makes mistakes.
Oh, yeah, for sure.
How do we talk about those oh no moments in an interview?
Well, the key is to frame them as learning experiences.
Okay,
Don't dwell on the mistake itself.
right.
Focus on what you learned and how you applied those lessons.
So if they ask about a time an event didn't go as planned,
That.
I'd own up to it.
Yeah, be honest.
Explain what happened and what I learned.
And how you prevented it from happening again.
So I'm turning my failures into lessons.
Exactly, and showing them you're always growing.
Okay, I love it. Now, before we wrap up,
Yeah.
I want to touch on passion.
Oh, yeah, that's so important.
It's what fuels us as event planners
It's what gets us through those long nights.
and those unexpected challenges.
It's what makes it all worthwhile.
So in that interview, let your passion shine through.
Yes. Talk about what excites you, share your favorite moments.
Show them you're not just there for a paycheck,
You're there to create something special.
because at the end of the day, it's about bringing people together.
Uh-huh. Creating memories, making magic happen.
We hope this deep dive has given you the tools and the confidence
To rock that interview.
and embark on your event management journey.
Good luck out there.
And remember, event planning is a marathon, not a sprint.
Pace yourself, stay organized, and never lose that passion.
We'll be here to cheer you on every step of the way.
Until next time, happy planning.